Hands up if your learning partner says this foresight and innovation stuff is just a bunch of hooey. Do you have any? Would you ask them to leave the room? Oh. Everybody call it out. What happens to organizations that don't truly innovate or pivot what they say? It's a pivot, isn't it now in Silicon Valley? They pivot. What happens to organizations that don't pivot, don't innovate? They die, obviously. Did anybody have a learning partner that had a great idea about a book or a talk or a video about foresight or innovation that they could share with the group? Anyone? Yes. TED Talks. That's my favorite too. And do you know that TED was started, TED was started by 6 futurists who got together at the Monterey Bay Aquarium 26 years ago and said, in the future, technology, entertainment, and design are going to merge together. And you know, at the very first meeting, Steve Jobs stood up on stage at TED and pulled a little computer out of a bag, put it up on stage, and it said, "Hello, welcome to Macintosh." Steve Jobs was a futurist. He inspired us to not do the next, but do the next thing. To not limit ourselves to what we believe that we could do, but to push us to do things that we didn't expect we could ever do in our lives. That's the kind of leader he was, like one of the world's greatest coaches. So the guys at Google said, listen to audiobooks about the future, about innovation, because it upgrades all of our talent simultaneously. And we can get together. Occasionally, they invite the authors in, and they present at Google, and they put it on YouTube for free for you to watch. Want to see a brilliant speech? Watch Daniel Pink at Google talking about his latest book, Brilliant Speech. Want to hear about what the next 5,000 days of the internet is going to be? Listen to Kevin Kelly talking about the next 5,000 days of the internet. These books you can plug into your brain. A buddy of mine is a podcaster, Leo Laporte. He does podcasts, his own TV network essentially, and he's got a deal with Audible. I get no financial incentive out of this. If you go to audible.com/twit2, you can download 2 audiobooks and give this a try. Could I suggest one for you, and then I'll let you choose whatever you want? There's a great book written by a journalist who speaks on the future of journalism by the name of Jeff Jarvis, and he wrote a book called What Would Google Do? Now, he doesn't tell you what Google is exactly. That book's called In the Plex, and that's a wonderful read as well. But he uses Google as a metaphor, and he asks the question, if Google was to get into the car rental business, how would they do that? If they were going to transform the finance industry, how would they do that? If they're going to take over airlines, how would they do that? And of course, there should be a chapter that you add to the book, which you can through the Kindle version, because you write your own notes and publish it to your friends. Fill in the blank. What would Google do if they wanted to take over your industry? What a great discussion to have with your staff. There's so many more resources that I want to leave with you, but I don't have a lot of time and enough copies of books to give to everyone, so I'll make it available on your website as well. But if you want to download it before you head to the planes, you can go to isgood, which is is.gd/think on your iPad, and you can download it right now. Let's see if we can crash the network. You know, I was actually, shh, there's nobody here from Optus, is there? I was Optus and I did that and it brought their network down. Let's drill down into the trends that I think are going to impact your business. And we've heard about some of them. We've heard about social, we've heard about local, but we haven't heard a lot about the other. It's SOMO and low, isn't it? SOMO and low? SOMO and low, social, location, and mobile, right? This is what everybody's talking about that's transforming business forever. So let's drill down into what I call mobile madness. Mary Meeker's at Kleiner Perkins now, and she does these wonderful graphs that shows the uptake of technology since the day of launch. And as marketers, I used to be a product marketing manager for Apple, we'd live by the quarter. What can we ship in this quarter? What can we ship in this quarter? Can we ship more in this quarter? Why? Quarterly reporting to Wall Street. What can we ship in this quarter? And this shows, throw your mind back to 1994. Remember the serial cable? Here's Netscape. And your geeky friend said, now that we got you an ISP and a PPP dial-up connection, you got to go get yourself a copy of Netscape. And it's 20 megabytes. You would never download that over the internet. So go to your local newsagent and get one of those computer mags because they've got Netscape stuck on the front on a CD-ROM. You remember this? It wasn't that long ago. So how much did Netscape cost? It was free, but they still tracked the amount of copies that were distributed over time. And this says quarter by quarter, and they got up to about 50 million copies of Netscape before Microsoft put them out of business. Now that's the blue line. The yellow line was the world's first internet phone anywhere in the world. Do you know in 1999, NTT Docomo launched an internet phone that was a really big version of an iPhone, but it ran on networks that didn't run anywhere else in the world. And people started looking at that and said, what if we could run it on our networks, GSM and so on? Now I know you're all looking at another colored line. What colored line are you looking at? Yes, but that data is a little out of date. It's a little out of date. Since Mary Meeker's gone on, we've had 2 more quarterly reportings, and the proliferation of Android devices has just exploded. There today are 138 different Android handsets available in North America. 138. They come out every 2 weeks. Consumers go in and say, what's the latest phone? And they go, just wait a minute. Okay, here it is. It's actually really confusing consumers because they buy a phone and a day later there's a better version out. Anyway, so that was 3 quarters ago. What happened 2 quarters ago? In 1 quarter, 380 million in 1 frickin' quarter. It's like, who's buying these things? That was 2 quarters ago. What happened last quarter? We just got the final numbers from Gartner. 468 million. This combines all the Android handsets, all the tablets that are running Android now, and Amazon hasn't even shipped their Android-based device, the Fire. So how in the world do you expect to be able to market your business and you don't have a mobile application? So one of my banking customers called me. They were launching a new initiative. Anybody here have that new ANZ app on their phone where you can send money to one another? They're trying to disintermediate PayPal. Yes, yes, it's pretty good. You can send money through Facebook if you wanted to. They called me a year ago and they said, hey, we were just moving office. You know, they just moved office. We're just moving office and we found this old PowerPoint presentation you did in 1994. And we want you to come and talk to us about our website. And I said, you should have called me in 1994. Why are you calling me about a frickin' website? You know, you may have waited just a tad too long. Now, I don't want to mislead you. That growth is not Apple. A lot of that growth is Android. So there's the chart for Android, right? iPhone's down there. The big green one is those 158 different handsets. But the major shift that we're seeing is not just the mobile internet of you having multiple devices. How many broadband connections do you carry around with you now? One on your iPad, one on your iPhone, one that plugs into your computer. How many data plans do you have? Well, it's not just about you. There is a huge upside in mobile. Only about 25% of all the handsets in the world that are being sold right now are smartphones. So there's about a 75% upside. But this is the big trend. Sensors are getting cheaper. So they're being embedded into electronic devices that don't need humans to operate them. Let me give you an example. You know how they inject RFID tags into cattle so they can track them when they're doing trade. And I was down at the RFID convention, and the guys from IBM in Melbourne were showing off their new scanner. They said, we got this brand new RFID scanner, Rispin, you want to hear about this? We can mount it where those tags are, those toll tags, and you can be driving at 90K, a bunch of cattle, 90K through the expressway, and we can scan 10,000 RFID chips while the truck's going 90K. How is this going to impact the field of logistics? How about when every product in every store has an RFID tag with a unique ID on it? Then all of a sudden we're talking about billions, not millions. Can you say it with me? Billions, not millions. And when I was a product manager at Apple, if I could get into the millions, my job was done. But now product managers are talking about the billions. This is an order of magnitude bigger desktop internet ever was. Ever was. And of course, half of all the growth of that will come from China. Half of it. These little devices where you can, I've got one of these in my car, you plug it into your data port, and my phone tells me when there's problems with my engine before my mechanic knows. Right? Little OBD connector. Gives you a Wi-Fi connection, tells you how your engine's doing. You know you got that check light button that lights up and you have no idea what it is on your car? Now it tells you, Toyota's just programmed this in so that your service station gets another service fee, don't take it back to the service station. Do you know they wouldn't do that, would they? Money we talked about, access, metering. Metering, gas. Is there anything happening in gas in this country right now? Yeah. I have a friend, he makes non-conductive pipes. These have to be safe, have to have a wireless connection and still not cause things to blow up. Security, control, and monitoring your body as well. A smart doctor in America developed an iPhone 4 case. You hold it in your hand or hold it to your chest and it's the EKG. My father lives in a country area in California. He was feeling a little niggle with his pacemaker because he's only kept alive through a computer, wireless computer that's in his chest. And he thought, should I get on that plane and fly to Italy and go hunting with my friends or not? And he had to drive 3 hours down to the specialist to go on the EKG. He could have done, it was good enough. If he had had this case, he could have emailed it to his doctor from anywhere in the world and say, should I get on that plane? IBM's forecast, they have a team of 25 futurists that consult with clients globally, 1 trillion connected devices by 2015. And what they're talking about are unique little things that you're probably going to, in the future, inhale, and you didn't even realize it. But we'll talk more about that in a minute. That's mobile madness, and you'd be mad if you weren't thinking this is going to impact your business. It definitely will. And remember when you started to hear from that really annoying geeky guy that was telling you, you got to get on the internet, you got to get on the internet. Remember that? Yes. No kidding. Next revolution is here. Speed and size. In 1976, when I had my Apple computer and plugged into a TV set and started making little games, I really wanted one of these. And there's a geek in every audience. They always know the name of this world's first supercomputer. It's called? Who said it? Who said it? Somebody said Cray. You said Cray? Yes, see, I told you there's one geek in every audience. Congratulations. There you go. For a triple word score, how much did it sell for in 1976? Ooh, $8 million, not including sales tax. And it got up to multiple megaflops. What is a megaflop? It's not a marketing disaster. A megaflop is 1 billion computations per second, a billion math problems in a second. Fast forward to 2011, and if you have twin 12-year-old boys like I do, if they want a supercomputer in the home, what is it called? It's called a PlayStation 3, absolutely. PlayStation 3 sells for, because they want to play Call of Duty and frag their friends, right? And of course, they pick up the telephone and call their buddies to do that. No, they don't. They plug in the Wi-Fi headset and communicate with their friends that are internationally for free through a VoIP connection. Sells for about $400 US, and it's a 218 gigaflop computer. A gigaflop is 1,000 megaflops, so that's 218,000 billion computations per second. But Alec and Cooper will still say, but I think we need an Xbox 360 as well because the smoke effects are better. It's a frickin' supercomputer. Live with it. Jeez. But some organizations have said, that's an interesting trend. I wonder if I could apply that to my organization. And Virginia Tech said, we don't have millions and millions of dollars to build a supercomputer. I wonder if we could plug together 200 of these Sony PlayStations. And they did it. For a couple $100,000, they created the world's 30th fastest supercomputer for a couple $100,000. Now, just to give you an aside here, this really ticks off CEOs when I tell them this, especially the one who said afterwards, so Craig, that $150 million that my IT manager just made me spend, you think it's redundant? I said to him, I think you've already made the decision. What we're experiencing is the empowerment of consumers, individuals, to make the choice of what computing device they have, and it is now in their pocket or their purse, and more powerful than the laptop that they had 3 years ago. Do you get that? It's a wave like we've never seen before. It's the green wave. So how does this apply to your business? Well, maybe you should employ some foresight. This is what Dr. Moore did in 1960s. He said the price performance of chips are going to double every 12 or 18 months. And an interesting thing happened. Did he predict it? Or did he suggest it so strongly that an entire generation of engineers made it come true? If you ask him, he'll say about 50-50. I thought it might be possible, and then we decided to make it possible. So how does this apply to your business? Well, you probably have got tablets, iPhones, desktop computers, point-of-sale systems, and you're like that CEO that has, by the way, he has $1 billion IT budget. Who would like $1 billion IT budget? So 150 million, it was like nothing, right? $1 billion IT budget. Are you making choices based on the past instead of the future? Are you in a situation where you can upgrade to the latest technology on an easy basis? So this is a company that sells a $100 PC. They're called N Computing. Anybody have any computers? Anybody have any employees that use computers? And your IT consultant, I'm sure, have told you about the $100 computer, right? Now, just hold on a second. This has been shipping for 3 years. Your IT consultant may have heard about this. Why haven't they told you about the $100 computer? Yes, because they want to send their kids to private school. And you make a lot more commission on the $150 million one rather than that. And when I showed that to BHP, they said, Craig, there's no way that that $100 computer could run our $800 million SAP application. So I said to them, you want to bet? They said, what do you mean bet? I said, double my fee or nothing. They said, we don't bet, this is BHP. I said, you bet $2 billion in Canada, and that didn't work out so well. My fee is somewhat less than that. He said, but Craig, can you give me the name of the country manager for that? I'm going to order one right now. And do you know what? BHP, I'm not a shareholder, so I can talk freely about them. They're the only client I have in the world which is completely paperless. Completely. They have no more paper at their organization. Their bookshelves are empty. And there's not a single manager anywhere in the world at BHP that can tell an employee what to do. They have to log it into their job system. An amazing run company. Within 48 hours, they had 10 of these in their little innovation, their little skunk works zone. They were testing it. Could they get the SAP application to run? Well, it did run, but we wanted to reboot a certain way. They called the company, and within 24 hours, they made a change so it could run specifically their way. And they called and they said, we want to do a little trial. We've got this little mining community with 2,500 sheds where workers live, and we thought we could give them an internet connection, a VoIP connection, and video on demand through a $100 box that doesn't require any filtering on the cooling fan because it's 100% solid state. So they bought 2,500, and it saved them $40 million. And I said to them, Again, what was my contract say? What percentage do I get of that? And they said, it doesn't work that way, Rispin, but you're hired for the next 20 years to speak at our conference. Why hasn't your IT consultant told you about this? They want to send their kids to private school. Do you know, they were telling us at my little public school that we couldn't have computers on every desk. They had to have computer labs. And so we did a drive just before council pickup, and we said, we want your old desktop monitors, we want your old keyboard and mice. We plugged them to these little $100 boxes that we asked the parents to sponsor. Would you sponsor a $100 computer so your child had a computer on their desk hooked to all these wonderful cloud services that are available to them now? So one teacher at the front and 30 $100 computers. They said, well, it's not on the approved education ordering list. I said, well, that's why the PNC is going to pay for it. Do you know they're selling them on the education price list? Desktop printers that are $6,000, and all they do is print black and white. In some countries, they call that corruption. Speed and size. It's not just speed, it's size. This is a millimeter scale computer that you might inhale by accident. That's a 1 penny. It's about the size of a 10-cent piece here. It's 1 millimeter. What does it have on it? It has a CPU, it has storage, it has a wireless network, it has pressure sensitivity, and an accelerometer. And you're all going to cringe because you don't work in the optical world, so don't cringe when I tell you this, because this will stop you from getting glaucoma. We're going to inject this in your eyeball, and it's going to measure the pressure inside your eye. And if there's a problem, we're going to communicate through the wireless connection to your iPhone to your doctor and prevent you from going blind. Now, it's not going to hurt that much. Millimeter scale computing. So, did somebody predict this? Yes, you could have read about it a decade ago, and it's all come true. These are charts from Ray Kurzweil, one of the world's leading futurists, and he says all those black dots, the world's most famous computers, and he says you can figure out calculations per second per $1,000 here, and through time, and most of these companies, starting with the Babbage mechanical computer in 1901, are on this really smooth curve. Moore's law extends not only to technology, but to other areas. But right now, we're at about a chip for $1,000 that has the same number of connections on the chip that one mouse brain has. But by 2030 or so, if you believe in Moore's law, they call it a law for a reason, if you believe in Moore's law, then we should have a computer chip for $1,000 that has the same number of connections you have in your human brain. And if you believe that it's going to continue to 2050 or so, we should have a single chip for $1,000 that has the same number of connections that the entire human race has, even with projected population growth. How different will the world be then? I know how different it'll be. It'll be, it's really sad. Grandma's passed away. But here's everything she ever saw in her life. Here's every conversation she ever had. Here's every life experience in her life, and we'll just download it to your family archive. You know, it is a bit scary, but people are already doing this. This is called life caching. It's a trend that was identified 10 years ago by a futurist in California. And he says, YouTube is the weak signal of what's coming in the future. People are uploading their lives. So if you're interested in this, if you believe that this is going to continue, then you're probably a Kurzweilian if you believe that the singularity is near, that technology and biology are going to merge together in the not too distant future, and that we could extend human life. If you believe this, you're a Kurzweilian, and the guys from Google funded the Singularity Institute with $100 million last year. Why? One of the founders has Parkinson's disease. He believes that technology is going to extend his life, or he's going to make it true. So if you're interested in this, you can download the full version of Transcendental Man. It'll blow your mind. Don't watch it on a flight. Because a bunch of friends were on a flight, they're all watching it all the time, and everybody was like, what's going on? Because everybody was going, oh wow, oh my God, I'm freaked out. And anyway, wait until you get home. Some people saying we're reaching Final Jeopardy, that I don't like that future, I prefer a different future. Can I participate in a different future? Maybe I can influence it to go a different way. So they decided to take Jeopardy and put the humans, the best, most successful Jeopardy players of all time, against Watson. Watson's in the middle. It's a supercomputer that IBM designed that has 57 different databases. One database, for instance, is Wikipedia. And they put it up in a 3-day series, and let's see what Jennings, the all-time winner of Jeopardy, says when he realizes he's lost the game. The question is, William Wilkinson's An Account of Principalities of Wallachia and Moldavia inspired this author's most famous novel. Turn to your learning partners, see if they know the answer.
We come to you, Brad, first. You were in third place with 5,600. You came up with what? Who is Bram Stoker? You are correct, the author of Dracula. And you will do what? You'll double your score to 11,200. And we add that to your total from yesterday, which was 10,400. That gives you a 2-day total of 21,600. Over to Ken Jennings now, 18,200 going in. Bram Stoker is what we're looking for. And we find who is Stoker? I, for one, welcome our new computer overlord. And your wager? The wager was $1,000. That takes you up to 19,200. Yesterday wasn't so good for you. You had 4,800. That gives you a 2-day total of 24,000. Now we come to Watson. We're looking for Bram Stoker. And we find who is Bram Stoker and the wager? Hello, 17,973, 41,413, and a 2-day total of 77,147. And that means, ladies...
So, I guess it's no more game shows for humans. Or maybe not. Or if you're an entrepreneur, you say, I wonder if I could apply that in my business. You might ring up the guys from IBM and say to them, I wonder if we could license Watson from you? And that's what the guys from Nuance did. They rang him the day after the contest and they said, we've got the world's largest collection of voice patents, and one of the biggest trends in medicine right now is when doctors take notes, they take initial symptoms from their clients. If we can get that into the computer, we can combine it on a Google database and we can prevent the outbreak of infectious diseases weeks in advance of countries' health systems. So what we want to do is bring our voice recognition, but we want to come out with a new version of Dragon Dictate Medical World Knowledge Edition. It'll be $99 and it will have all the 57 databases from Watson. And it will probably come out as an iPhone app. Now let me ask you this question. Could you employ vocal recognition in your business? Could you apply 57 databases to your business? Could you figure out a way that you could gather data out in the field and figure out how you could prevent infectious disease just by what doctors are typing into Google? This would make you a futurist, just not an entrepreneur. I would encourage all of you to develop your powers of foresight. This is my recommendation to you. You ready? Steve Jobs hired 1,500 of us on the same day. He said, you all think that you've been hired to work here 5 days a week, but you're wrong. You're going to go out and tell your customers you can only see them 4 days. Because on the 5th day, we're going to ask a question that's going to transform our organization forever. And this is the question I want to give to you from Steve that will help you transform your business. Just jot this down. It goes like this. Is there a better way? That's really it. That's all I have to share with you. I'd love to go through the other 357 slides I have in my slide pack, but my time is done. So I would invite all of you, as a gift to you, we'll put up where my electronic book will go as well, a link to my virtual mentoring. I'll offer to you and all of your employees for the next 12 months. You can come and ask me about the other 357 slides, but on 1 day a month. the day that you should be thinking about the future. In my calendar, it happens to be the second Friday of every month. That's my electronic office hours. I hope to see you there. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Claude. It's fantastic. Fantastic work.
Thank you. Thank you.